Hey all you addicts out there, how you doing today? This is Jordan Knigge with Addicted Fishing and Addicted Guides. Today we're out here on the trout pond showing you guys how to set up a basic trout setup to catch trout on worms. To start off, we're going to talk about the rod you need to catch these trout. What I have here is an Okuma Solilo 4 to 10 pound ultralight trout rod. This works great because it has an ultra sensitive tip that can feel these light bites that these trout usually give. What we're going to set this up with today is a bobber setup. So what I have here is a spinning rod. It's with a Okuma Safina spinning reel here. I have 10 pound P-line fluorocarbon line on it. The fluorocarbon is great because it's nice and clear and the fish can't see it. What we're going to do here today is we're going to set up your basic trout setup for catching them with a bobber and a worm. Okay, this is probably the most old school and most effective way that you can catch trout on stocked lakes and ponds. What we have here is your typical inline bobber. This connects to the top of your line on your main line and you run your bait underneath it. So I'm going to show you a couple of techniques on how to put these bobbers on so that they stay on your line and they stay in the depth range that you want. The way you're going to put these bobbers on your line is you take your main line, your 10 pound fluorocarbon, you're going to keep your thumb on the bottom. You see how this has a little ring on the top and the bottom. Your line's going to connect to both. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put my thumb on the bottom ring on the red side. I'm going to squeeze down this topper on the top and pull out that gold little ring at the top of the bobber here. What I'm going to do with that immediately is I'm going to take my fishing line, I'm going to put it underneath, I'm going to hold it down, I'm going to wrap it around 2 to 3 times. And I'm going to lift that red topper right back up to the stop, and that's going to hold that line right on the top of the bobber. See that there? That's the start. That's step 1. Step 2 into securing this float to your line is the bottom clasp. You see this other little gold piece here on the red side. I'm actually going to hold down my thumb on top of this topper here and push it straight down to where I can have that nice little gold piece sticking out. And again, I'm going to make 2 wraps with my fishing line so that this bobber stays secure at that depth. And all you're going to do is release that and it's going to close down. And now you have a nice fixed bobber sitting right in line with your gear and your weight underneath holding that worm. What we're going to do now is add weight and add a hook to put your bait on, whether it be power bait or a worm. Today we're using worms. What I have here are a couple of split shots. These you can find at any tackle shop, mainly any convenience store in the world. You can find these split shots. What we're going to do is we're going to take just one of them today because we're fishing a shallow lake. We don't need a lot of weight. So I'm going to take one of these. You can see how these are opened up so that you can lay your line inside one end. And that's all you need to do. You're going to take this split shot. I like to go about 1 foot to 2 feet from my worm or whatever bait I have on the end, so my hook is still going to go on here. I'm going to put that split shot right on the line, folding that line across, and I'm going to grab my pliers here and I'm going to squeeze those down tight just like so. Don't have to go too hard, just enough to smash that lead and keep it nice and secure on your line. There's your weight. Now we're going to talk hooks. Hooks are very important in the style that you use for this bobber and worm fishing. This one here is a mustad hook. It's actually called a worm hook. What it has here are these small barbs on the back side of the hook. And what these do is they allow you to slip your live bait and or worm up onto your hook, and it has the barbs that actually keep that worm from sliding off as it wiggles and creates that motion and that presentation for you underneath your float. So these are the worm hooks that we like to use, and these are really the best that you can get. What we're going to do here is I'm going to tie your typical fisherman's knot. You can see it in a lot of our different promos and a lot of our different videos how to tie some of these knots, but I'm going to do it quick here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that eye of the hook, I'm going to take my main line, I'm going to go right through the eye of the hook, and I'm going to grab that opposite end, creating a nice little U shape. What I'm going to then do is take the line and I'm going to spin it 7 times around itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. From here, I'm going to take this tag end and go right through the eye that I created with the twist, just like so. What we're going to do now is add our Nightcrawler or our worm to our hook. There's a multitude of ways that you can do this. What I like to do is usually break down your worm. And what I mean by that is normal Nightcrawlers worms are usually about 4 to 6 inches long. You don't need that much for a lot of small trout and or even big trout. You don't need a ton of bait. So what I like to do is I like to take my worms. This method also conserves your bait a little bit too if you're out there on the lake and there's a hot bite. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my Nightcrawler. I'm going to pinch about 1/4 to halfway in the middle of the worm, and I'm just going to pull it apart. How I'm going to add that smaller bait to my hook here is I'm gonna take my hook, using the end I actually ripped off, so the bare end here, set it right into the middle of that Nightcrawler, pull it in probably about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and then I'm gonna pull that hook through the body. And see, that's why we have these barbs on the back of these hooks, because now as you slide this worm up your line, those tag ends and those barbs that are on the back side of that hook actually hold that worm in place so it stays right on your hook. And there's your perfect little bait. Be sure and comment below and subscribe to our YouTube page. We want to hear your ideas, we want to hear your questions. Let us know the techniques you want to see. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and we'll see you out there.